Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something a lot of people have experienced, trying a ketogenic diet for mental health, and, well, it not quite working out.
Right. It's a really common story, actually.
We hear these amazing transformative accounts, but then there's the other side. People who tried it, I even tried it myself a while back and just didn't get those hoped-for results for, mental well-being.
Exactly. And it's so important to acknowledge that spectrum of experience. Some find it life-changing, genuinely. Others feel frustrated, maybe confused.
Yeah.
Our goal today isn't about blame. Definitely not. It's more about um, digging into the specifics of using keto therapeutically for mental health.
Kind of troubleshooting it.
Yeah, troubleshooting is a good word.
Okay.
We want to shed light on why maybe past attempts didn't pan out for you listening.
So think of this as our deep dive into those common pitfalls. We've looked at a lot of experiences, discussions online too, trying to pinpoint those things that often get missed.
Things that can really undermine the whole effort when you're aiming for mental health benefits specifically.
Right, so if you've been there, tried it, didn't get the results, or maybe you're just curious why it works wonders for some and not others, this is for you.
It's definitely a complex area and it's still evolving, right?
Yeah.
But there are some common themes we see again and again.
Okay, so where do we start? What's one of the first, big stumbling blocks?
Well, one of the most common, honestly, is hidden carbohydrates.
Ah, yes, the sneaky carbs.
Totally. They can be lurking in places you just wouldn't expect. Sauces, dressings.
Even things labeled keto-friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially products geared towards weight loss keto.
Hmm.
They might have carb counts that are fine for weight management, but completely derail medical ketogenic therapy.
I remember hearing about someone online, they were tracking everything, thought they were doing great, but their zero-carb hot sauce, packed with hidden sugars.
It happens all the time. It throws everything off.
It really does. My first time trying, I thought I was being so careful. But when you really, really scrutinize labels, it's eye-opening.
Hmm. And that ties into the strictness needed for the therapeutic approach. We're often talking under 20 grams of net carbs per day.
20 grams. That is low.
It's much lower than many people doing keto for, say, weight loss might aim for. Even carbs in certain vegetables add up quickly.
So meticulous tracking isn't just suggested, it's essential.
Absolutely essential. You need to know exactly what's going in to get an accurate picture.
Okay, so it's not just about slashing carbs generally, it's about being super precise, which brings up another point, right? Protein.
Yes, eating too much protein. This one surprises people sometimes.
We usually hear eat more protein.
Right. But for medical keto, the goal is different. Excess protein can actually be converted into glucose by the body.
That's gluconeogenesis.
Exactly, gluconeogenesis.
Right.
So if you eat too much protein, your body starts making its own sugar, which can kick you out of or prevent you from getting into deep ketosis.
So what's the target then, roughly?
We're often looking for a fat to protein and carb ratio of about 2 to 1, sometimes even higher.
Wow, okay, so double the fat compared to protein and carbs combined by weight or calories.
Often by grams, aiming for that ratio. So maybe, 100 and 120 grams of fat versus maybe 50, 60 grams combined protein and net carbs. Just as an example for someone on, say, 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
It varies, of course.
But the principle is high fat, moderate protein, very low carb. It's a real balancing act.
It is, and maintaining that balance is key for producing those therapeutic ketones.
Which leads perfectly into the next mistake. Not actually tracking, not just carbs, but everything, macros and ketones.
Precisely. You absolutely cannot just assume you're in ketosis because you're following the diet rules, quote unquote.
You might feel like you are, but
But you don't know for sure. Without objective measurement, you're flying blind, essentially.
tracking all the food, making sure those ratios are right.
Yes, and then actually measuring your ketone levels.
How do people do that reliably?
Blood ketone meters are generally considered the gold standard. Things like the Keto Mojo monitor. There are also continuous ketone monitors emerging now, which are really interesting.
Like a CGM for glucose, but for ketones.
Kind of, yeah. They provide more continuous data. But the key is getting that concrete, objective data. Are you actually in the therapeutic range we're aiming for?
That data must be so powerful. It lets you personalize, fine-tune.
Totally. It takes the guesswork out. You see how your body responds and can confirm you're achieving and maintaining ketosis.
Okay, so let's say someone is tracking meticulously. They're seeing ketones on their meter, but they're still not feeling the mental health benefits. What then?
Well, another big one is quitting too early.
Or patience, or lack thereof.
Exactly. The timeline for noticeable mental health shifts can be longer than people expect. It's often weeks, sometimes months.
Right. I think I read Dr. Christopher Palmer suggests, what, 3 to 4 months for a proper assessment?
Yes, it's a common time frame suggested. And that initial adaptation phase, the keto flu,
Ugh, the keto flu. I remember that well from my first attempt. Just wiped out, brain fog.
it can be really rough. Extreme exhaustion, fog.
Hmm.
It's so easy to feel awful and think this isn't working and just stop right there.
When really it might just be the adjustment period.
It often is.
Yeah.
And there are things you can do to mitigate it.
Like electrolytes?
Definitely.
Hmm.
Consistent electrolytes are key: sodium, potassium, magnesium. They can make a huge difference. Some people also find supplements like L-carnitine helpful for fat metabolism during that transition.
Okay.
And here's something really interesting that ties into feeling worse initially: potentiation.
Potentiation, what's that?
It means that as you get into ketosis, your sensitivity to existing psychiatric medications can actually increase.
Whoa, so the meds might suddenly feel stronger.
Exactly. We've heard from people who started keto,
Yeah.
felt worse, more anxious, more side effects, and assumed the diet was failing.
But it was actually their medication becoming, like, supercharged.
Potentially, yes. It's a crucial factor that's often missed. They mistake the potentiation effect for the diet itself not working.
That is fascinating, and it really highlights the need for medical supervision, which we'll definitely circle back to. But first, another potential saboteur: alcohol or recreational drugs.
Yes, this is a big one. Even small amounts of alcohol, like a glass of red wine. People think, oh, it's low carb.
Right.
But alcohol itself can negatively impact your metabolism and actually block ketone production, even if the carbs are low.
So it directly interferes with the process.
It can, yes. And recreational drugs, well, they often disrupt sleep, eating patterns.
Which are also crucial for this working well.
Absolutely. They just add instability to the system you're trying so hard to stabilize metabolically. It throws a wrench in the works.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about potentiation, the medication effect. This brings us to another critical point: not having a plan for medication adjustments.
This is so important, and potentially dangerous if ignored.
Because of that amplification effect.
Precisely. As ketone levels rise, the effects and side effects of your current psychiatric meds can become stronger. What was a stable dose before might suddenly be too much.
Leading to feeling worse, like we just discussed.
Exactly. And this is why adjusting meds on your own is a really bad idea. You absolutely need close, consistent collaboration with your doctor or care team.
They need to monitor you, see if dosages need careful tweaking downwards.
Yes, mistaking those amplified side effects for keto isn't working. It's a very common reason people stop prematurely. It requires careful management.
It really drives home that this isn't just changing what you eat. It's a metabolic therapy with real interactions.
Absolutely. Which actually leads nicely into the next point. Thinking keto is only about the diet.
Ah, so not combining it with other helpful things.
Exactly. Medical keto often works best when it's part of a bigger picture, a broader strategy for metabolic health.
What kind of things are we talking about?
The fundamentals, really. Prioritizing good quality sleep, regulating your circadian rhythm, consistent sleep times, light exposure.
Getting outside in the morning light.
Yes, things like that. Regular movement or exercise that you actually enjoy. Even social connection plays a role.
How does that all fit together?
They all work synergistically. They help lower insulin, support healthy brain energy metabolism. They create an environment where the ketogenic diet can be most effective. Diet is a powerful tool, but it's often not the only tool needed.
It's like building a house. The diet might be the foundation, but you need the walls and roof too.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
You need the whole structure for it to be strong and stable.
Okay, let's dive a bit deeper into those medication interactions. It sounds really complex.
It can be nuanced, for sure. We talked about potentiation, keto making meds stronger. But some meds can also work against ketosis.
How so?
Certain medications like valproic acid, lithium, some antipsychotics, they can actually increase insulin levels or interfere with fat metabolism.
Making it harder to get into ketosis in the first place.
Exactly. So you might be doing the diet perfectly, but the medication itself is creating a metabolic hurdle.
So it's a two-way street. Keto affects meds, and meds can affect keto.
Precisely. And that again highlights the need for working closely with your doctor.
And I imagine it's tempting if someone starts feeling better on keto to think, great, I can just stop my meds now.
Oh, absolutely. That urge can be strong, but it's really risky.
Why is that so dangerous?
Because keto isn't usually an immediate replacement. Stopping meds abruptly, especially psychiatric meds, can lead to withdrawal, relapse, serious destabilization.
It needs to be a slow, careful process if it happens at all.
Absolutely. Very gradual, always under medical supervision. Sometimes people find they can reduce meds significantly. Others might need to stay on a lower dose. The goal is long-term stability and well-being, whatever that looks like for the individual.
It's not necessarily about getting off meds completely.
Not always, no. It's about finding the best combination of therapies for that person, which
Or
again comes back to tracking and data.
Right. Having that detailed info, food, ketones, symptoms, med changes.
It's invaluable. It lets you and your doctor see the patterns, understand your unique response.
And make informed decisions together. Like maybe if one specific medication seems to be really blocking the keto benefits.
Then the doctor might consider options, maybe switching to a different drug in the
Huh.
same class or trying an alternative, if appropriate. But again, that's a careful, collaborative decision,
Yeah.
weighing all the pros and cons.
It really sounds like personalization is everything here.
It truly is. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay, this has been incredibly clarifying for why someone's past attempt might not have worked. Are there people, though, who should be extra cautious about even starting a strict medical ketogenic diet? Any specific contraindications?
Yes, definitely. There are some specific medical conditions where strict keto is generally not recommended.
Such as?
Rare genetic disorders that affect fat metabolism. The body literally can't handle that much fat.
Okay.
Also, conditions like porphyria, acute pancreatitis, or end-stage liver disease.
Because the body's ability to process fats or make ketones is impaired.
Exactly. In those cases, a strict ketogenic approach could be harmful.
That makes sense. So for someone in that situation, are there any dietary options to improve metabolic health, or is it just off the table?
It's not necessarily completely off the table, but it requires even more careful medical guidance. They might explore things like a modified Atkins diet, which is a bit less strict.
Still low carb, but maybe more protein or slightly more carbs.
Generally, yes. Or a low glycemic index diet, focusing on foods that don't spike blood sugar dramatically. Intermittent fasting protocols might be considered.
What about exogenous ketones? Taking ketone supplements?
That's another area being explored, but again, only under strict medical supervision, especially if there are underlying health conditions. The main point is, even if strict keto isn't right, there might still be other dietary strategies to discuss with a professional.
So always talk to your doctor or a knowledgeable dietitian.
Always, especially when dealing with complex health conditions or medications.
This has been such a helpful deep dive. The main takeaway for me, for anyone listening who felt keto failed them before, it sounds like there are so many potential factors, things that can be adjusted.
That's absolutely the core message.
Yeah.
If it didn't work before, don't necessarily write it off forever. Revisit the approach with this, deeper understanding.
Pay attention to the details.
Yes. Detailed tracking food, ketones, meticulous macro ratios, that open communication with your healthcare team about meds and potentiation.
And remembering it's not just diet, but the whole metabolic picture: sleep, stress, movement.
Exactly. All those pieces are critical for giving it the best chance to work.
And if people want more info, more support, you mentioned resources earlier.
Yeah, the YouTube channel we drew from has great playlists on medical keto, very detailed, and online peer support groups. They can be amazing.
Connecting with others on the same path.
It makes a huge difference. Sharing experiences, tips, navigating challenges together, it can be really valuable.
Fantastic. So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think back on your own experience if you've tried keto. Which of these things we talked about, hidden carbs, protein, tracking, quitting too soon, meds, the other lifestyle stuff, which part resonates most?
Yeah, reflecting on that could be really insightful.
Could looking at it through this lens maybe open the door to trying again, but differently this time? More informed, more supported.
It's definitely something to consider, but remember, it's always a personal journey.
And always, always work closely with your healthcare team. That's non-negotiable.
Couldn't agree more. That's the foundation for doing this safely and effectively.